The last round of war was a few weeks ago with the bombing of Gaza and destroying hospital building, media building, killing more than, almost 300 people, and, about 63 children were killed. They have names. That's what the New York Times said. But what we have left after all of this, the Keffiyeh, the Palestinian Keffiyeh, the black and white checkered when I wear here, becoming a symbol of resistance, a symbol of identity, proud Palestinians. There is no other piece, an article of clothes that has that significance like the Keffiyeh, or Keffiyeh, I would say it. And the history of Keffiyeh and or the Keffiyeh, is really interesting, and how the meaning of it evolves. Our guest today, the professor of Department of Middle Eastern Study and Islamic Study program, University of Texas at Austin. She's the author of numerous academic work and books, and I think the biggest book or a volume that really got a lot of people's attention, The Veil and Veiled, and Hijab in Modern Culture. Stay with us, stick with us.
صباح الخير يا ولاد عمومنا، تفضلوا شرفونا. شو بتحب مضيفكم، دم عربي ولا دموع من عيوننا؟ بعتقد هيك تأملوا نستقبل، من هيك تعقدوا لما تدركموا على غلطة من هيك لبسنا الكوفية البيضة والسودا، صاروا كلاب الزمان يلبسوها كموضة. مهما تفننوا فيها، مهما غيروا بلونها، كوفية عربية بتضل عربية. حطتنا بدنا اياه، ثقافتنا بدنا اياه، كرامتنا بدنا اياه، كل شي إلنا بدنا اياه. ما رح نسكت لن نسمح لن، ليك لا بقلن يسرقوا شغلة مش إلهن ما خصن فيه. قلدونا بلتبس لبس هالأرض بكفيهنش، طمعانين عالقدس قدس، اعرفوا كيف كونوا بشر قبل ما بتلبسوا كوفية. جينا نذكرن مين احنا، وغصب عن ابوهم هي حطتنا. من هيك لبسنا الكوفية لأننا وطنية. الكوفية كوفية عربية، من هيك لبسنا الكوفية هويتنا الأساسية. الكوفية كوفية عربية، يلا علي الكوفية، علولي هالكوفية. الكوفية كوفية عربية، علوه هلا بلاد الشام. كوفية عربية بتضل عربية، ما في بعد مثل الشعب العربي. فرجوني أي أمي بالدنيا أكتر مؤثرة. الصورة واضحة، نحن مهد الحضارة، تاريخنا وتراثنا الشاهد على وجودنا. من هيك لبست الثوب الفلسطيني، من حفا جنين جبل النار إلى رام الله. خلينا نشوف الكوفية البيضة والحمرة، خلينا نعليها لفوق بالسما. أنا هجاه دية العرب الثاني، بغص غزل ثاني، بهز هالكلي ماتي حرب. سجل أنا شاد يا منصور والحطة هويتي، من يوم ما خلقت سيدي والشعب مسؤوليتي. لك أنا تربيت بين الغرب وبين الشرق، بين لغتين، بين بخيل بين فقير. شفت الحياة من الشقتين، أنا مثل الكوفية، كيف ما لبستوني وين ما شلحتوني، بضلني عاوصولي فلسطينية. من هيك لبسنا الكوفية لأننا وطنية. الكوفية كوفية.
How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Well, Southern Kirill, you are in Texas, Austin, healthy and safe and everything, right? Survived.
Yes.
Let's get into the business. How do you like? Am I wearing this?
I'm seeing that I was going to make a comment.
So am I wearing it right way? I don't know. A Palestinian friend brought it to me. I was telling him about, I'm going to meet you and we're going to do a conversation about Keffiyeh. I said, why don't you take this? So wear it. So I'm wearing in honor of
and I am thinking it's probably, as I can say from this distance, it's an original Keffiyeh embroidery. Yeah, it's not a print.
I can feel. No, it's not a print, of course.
Okay. But you know that the Chinese also become very smart and make Palestinian Keffiyeh.
Yeah, I was reading about the last place that was making Keffiyeh in Palestine. Still, they said it closed down because of the Chinese are making everything.
I always say the Palestinian food is hijacked.
Yeah.
The land is hijacked. Now the clothes on the back of the shoulder is hijacked. important because these are the points I note. If you lose your food and it becomes either Israeli food or Middle Eastern food, but why isn't is correctly labeled as the Palestinian, right?
Well, I mean, not just the food. You have 2 million Palestinians who live in Israel. They don't call them Palestinians. They call them Arabs.
The things that, for me, which I'm mostly in the culture, obviously, you cannot be in the culture without the politics.
No.
You know, cultures all have their lives. Yeah. But then this is to see that to irradiate every possible symbolism of the people that they are associated with. Like, for example, the fantastic Palestinian embroidery, or the keffiyeh. Now it became a fashion statement. The keffiyeh comes in the market with so many different colors. My issue with some of these hijacking symbolism is why is it that if someone copies a Western designer's clothes, it will be sued?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's a copyrighted. Yeah. But anything that we have in the Middle East is open to grab.
Let's talk about the keffiyeh that costs $700.
Louis Vuitton, yeah. Why is it the Palestinians are not benefiting from the sale?
Oh, no. I mean, they're still not benefiting from anything. Why did they cave in right away and they pulled that expensive keffiyeh?
I think it was very politically sensitive. And I tell you, what this one was to the benefits of the people who do not like to see the keffiyeh, because it is visible, you know, by someone in a high fashion, visible.
Yeah.
The other part of it is, I'm glad he didn't bank in so much more money because of riding on someone else's back and making it his ownership. But I can promise you, a piece of that or a collection of that will be in a museum in few years. Okay, and so it's
limited edition.
Exactly, not only limited edition. It is that the available thing. So it will be in a museum. The other thing in the fashion industry, there are Israeli female designers, okay, that they are using keffiyeh to make clothes. And to me, some of the keffiyehs, the way they were using it was very disrespectful.
Like a swimsuit and trunk and
swimming suits, very skinny clothes, you know, very open exposure. This is disgusting. You could use another fabric to do that. Why you are targeting on the Palestinian keffiyeh? So, on the same note, did you know there is a Star of David keffiyeh?
Ouch.
Yes.
Probably there is a law to protect that.
Look, when the first time I saw that was like maybe 3-4 years ago. The minute I saw that, I said, what is this now? First of all, the borders, just like the borders of your keffiyeh, are authentic. Okay. But the field, the main ground, the field of the keffiyeh is a Star of David. The keffiyeh is white with the light blue of the flag of Israel.
Wow.
Yes. It was promoted in Israel first time when the Miss Universe of Israel wore that.
Wow.
And yes.
So so they taken the culture and the political meaning out of it, snuff out of it to become a fashion article.
It is purposely done because that Keffiyeh is associated with Palestinian
Resistance.
homeland, right?
Yeah.
So when you convert it to something else, what has a flag of your own nation,
association.
That is an association, and also taking over.
Yeah.
Taking over, that is domination.
Isn't that what they've been doing for the last 73 years?
Exactly.
When you look, they did the same thing with geography. They did the same thing with culture. They did something with politics. So they kind of appropriate all of this and cover the land with trees and change the name of Palestinian villages to Hebrew villages. So it is part of the overall scheme
but it is like it's never ending.
Yeah.
It's coming up with new ideas.
Palestinian identity is stronger than any other Arab nation, and occupying Jerusalem is not really the issue. It's occupying Cairo and Mecca and occupying Dubai and occupying all the other Arab Zionist capital.
What you're saying is true because you can trace the same ideology through the adopting new ways of giving your identity and not letting it die. Let me give you an example. Obviously, those who are Palestinians or familiar with the embroidery, they know that each qaria or village or region of the Palestine had their own design and the color collections, and their embroidery was specific to that region. Okay, so when one goes to another place, everybody knew where. It was an identity. Okay,
interesting.
So I am identified with this village. And then after the occupation, all these people that dispersed and they had to go to the refugee camps, they realized they can't be identifying themselves as a small groups. Let's get together and have a unified identity. So in the process, they lost the identification of every village that they had. If they had to make a living, they had to be unified and do this embroidery without being so concerned, this is from this village before this is from that village. Obviously, the older generation cared a lot, and they had examples. But the new one realized that you can't be that choosy. So let's mix them together. Now what they produce, it is just labeled as the Palestinian embroidery. And then those who are expert, they can sit and look at the symbolism or the patterns, and they can tell how many different villages had been mixed together. But to an outsider who is uninformed, it doesn't make any difference. Marketing the products for themselves are using the Keffiyeh information or the idea and making it to something called the hatta, which is a scarf. It's not like what you have. Hatta is just a scarf. Most of men will wear that. Part of it on the back or the lining could be the original Keffiyeh, but the ending of that, which is usually in white, it will have message like Al-Quds with the picture of the Quds, or Gaza, or the map of the Palestine, or sometimes they add the fringes with the Palestinian color of the flags. So you have to admire these people that, okay, if this doesn't work and Chinese are making this, now we are coming with some new idea. I really admire the innovativeness that it's not gonna die. You do this, I come up with something new. Some of the Palestinian or the Arab designers themselves try to use part of the keffiyeh in the production or on the line. But I have never seen anything like that Israeli women designer, that it was, to me, was disgusting. Why you are disrespecting? Because knowing, see, this is also very clever. We have to think the way they think, or anyone thinks. It is, they know if you are a Muslim, you have, dress codes, the women's body and all that, the exposure. You take that, which was originally a man's scarf, okay? At this point, it doesn't make any difference. Women wear it too. But you take the symbolism of a man's scarf, and then you're demeaning it first by changing the gender who's wearing it, okay? Think about it, Orientalism. If you want to capture these cultures, the Muslim culture, demean the men first, make him less valuable, then go after their women. This one is taking the keffiyeh, which is a masculine, okay, and then making women's clothes, which is not decently covering anyone's body. So it's a double.
But speaking of that, a piece of article gained meaning, and the meaning and the symbolism of it evolved through history. I remember growing up in a small village in Egypt, and keffiyeh was always associated with the fallahin, the villagers. And
yeah, that keffiyeh has what I looked at it. It was a symbol of a head wrap worn by the male peasant, and then it gained multi-layered symbolic meaning, became associated with the Palestinian struggle. It became associated with the keeping the culture alive. It went through some, and also became, a fashion item, became a political item, not only for the Palestinian, but it is used by the other cultures for the same idea of resistance. So let me give you the very first person who really made that to be a resistance idea for the Palestinians is Yasser Arafat.
of course.
And he had a very distinguished way of wrapping his keffiyeh. Mm-hmm. I do have pictures of that. If you don't, I can.
Yeah, we'll find it. Ayatollah Google will have everything for us.
Yeah. I looked at it and I said that, well, this is very interesting that how I don't know if he was the originator of the thought that the way he wraps it, but it gives the idea of this is the Palestinian flag. The other idea with the Yasser Arafat was that even if he was wearing other headgear, he still has the scarf. So he never detached himself from this piece of cloth. This piece of cloth became a symbol of what he actually created, I think, put in people's head. That is called like the message in Arafat's headdress. It is just like, you cannot talk about it all the time, but visualize it. So looking at it is a reminder, right? And then the other idea is there was this person, the first time that a female adopted the keffiyeh. It was this Dalal Moqrebi, I think that's what her name is. She was born in 59 and died in March of 11 of 78.
And who was she?
And I tell you, she is the first woman to adopt the keffiyeh as a symbol of the freedom fighter for the Palestinian cause. And Maghrebi is the family, all of them were involved and they're very much pro-Palestine. And then the Israeli occupation of the 47 is actually made her parents to become a refugee and go to the camp. She died in Israel for the cause of what they call it her terrorist activities. And then she is very respected and known among the Palestinians for her heroic action. Actually, she was the very first woman who wore the keffiyeh. So by doing that, she removed the gender identity from it. So it could be worn by male and female, and it only focused on the purpose of the keffiyeh, not as an item of fashion. Obviously, they didn't have these things, ideas, but as an item of solidarity with the Palestinian cause. And for the donut, what is that? Dunkin' Donut coffee. Mm-hmm. She was wearing a keffiyeh around her neck when she appeared in the ad. And then Dunkin' Donut ended up to pull the ad within a few days.
Mm-hmm. But people on the ground, in Gaza and Palestine, they've been wearing keffiyeh for hundreds and thousands of years.
Exactly.
So yeah. how that original idea and intention, those people that just wear idea, keffiyeh for functioning reason, not necessarily
not for politics, because they were working in the field, mm-hmm. and they needed a head wrap, mm-hmm. to cover from the elements, from the climate elements. But I guess the whole idea, that's my guess, not that I read it anywhere. I might be wrong, I might be right. But the sincerity of those farmers, fallahins, that they work their land, they work with the soil, and they darn this keffiyeh is connecting to the land, connecting to the produce they were making, connecting to the ownership. These are all, to me, are symbolized in the keffiyeh, because this is the headgear of a sincere fallah that worked the dirt, the land. And then it became a symbol of the belonging to the land, because you work your land. So to me, this is how it probably was picked up as a nationhood symbolism, the keffiyeh of the Arafat, because it couldn't just come out of nowhere.
By a fashion designer, like what happened here.
Exactly.
Victoria's Secret can tell people how you show your secret. I don't know what secret about Victoria's Secret.
That's just what it is. Also, the new use of the keffiyeh in combination with the flag of Israel. I don't know if you have seen that.
Oh, I've seen worse.
Yes. In the outside, lands of the Middle East, when the Palestinians or pro-Palestinians get together, usually have the forbidden flag of the Israel.
Yeah.
The forbidden flag of the Palestine. And then there are the designs that they create. Put that actual flag on the center and the keffiyeh sewn together on the sides. What other more evidence anyone wants to draw from this? They are not carrying script. They are not saying anything in writing that it is so visible. It means the flag, the keffiyeh, they are equal to each other. And the keffiyeh, if you are forbidden to carry the flag, the keffiyeh will do the same job.
Interesting.
So it is a very nice, thoughtful ways. I'm just telling you, Ahmed, these things to me is not little.
No, it's not random.
No, these are well thought.
Well thought. And
these are well thought.
And
it's all thought by people that they know the culture, they are informed, and they know the sentiment of people.
And, we thank you so much, Faegheh, and I enjoy the rest of the day. And I'm sure we'll meet you again, and we'll keep this conversation going.
Okay, maybe another topic.
نحن مهد الحضارة، تاريخنا وتراثنا الشاهد على وجودنا. من هيك لبست الثوب الفلسطيني، من حفا جنين جبل النار إلى رام الله. خلينا نشوف الكوفية البيضة والحمراء، خلينا نعليها لفوق بالسما. أنا شاه دية العرب الثاني، بخص غزة الثاني بهز كلماتي حرب. سجل أنا شاد يا منصور والحطة هويتي، من يوم ما خلقت سيدي والشعب مسؤوليتي. لك أنا تربيت بين الغرب وبين الشرق، بين لغتين، بين بخيل بين فقير. شفت الحياة من الشقتين، أنا مثل الكوفية، كيف ما لبستوني وين ما شلحتوني بضلني ع أصولي فلسطينية. من هيك لبسنا الكوفية لأننا وطنية. الكوفية كوفية عربية، من هيك لبسنا الكوفية هويتنا الأساسية. الكوفية كوفية عربية، يلا علم كوفية، علولي هالكوفية. الكوفية كوفية عربية، علو هلا بلاد الشام. كوفية عربية بتضل عربية. كوفية عربية، كوفية عربية، كوفية عربية، كوفية عربية. من هيك لبسنا الكوفية لأننا وطنية. الكوفية كوفية عربية، من هيك لبسنا الكوفية هويتنا الأساسية. الكوفية كوفية عربية، يلا علم كوفية، علولي هالكوفية. الكوفية كوفية عربية، علو هلا بلاد الشام. كوفية عربية بتضل عربية.
Some of y'all think it's a trend, a fashion statement. Disgustingly, I spit on the pavement. It's basic.